Welcome back to the Sika Strength News Show. Today we're obviously looking at the biggest deadlift ever, 520 kilos. So this is Colton. He was in Russia recently at a powerlifting competition. He deadlifted 520 kilos after he squatted 430 kilos. So he did a full powerlifting total and he benched 275 kilos. So that's the 430 kilo squat. Absolutely massive. It's the biggest deadlift from the floor that we've ever seen from anyone, which is crazy.
There's two things that make this incredibly impressive, aside from the fact that he did the heaviest deadlift ever. In my opinion, the fact that he did it as part of a full total makes it so much more impressive than a lot of the other really heavy, over 500 kilo deadlifts we've seen. And then the fact that he's doing it without a suit. Now, there is the real question mark here over the sumo, semi-sumo versus conventional, whether his one's more legitimate because his stance is a little bit narrower. We've talked about that a lot, but in my opinion, this is the most impressive deadlift ever. His stance width, realistically, when compared with the bigger World's Strongest Man competitors, his stance width really isn't that much wider, right? So if you look at some of the monsters like Haftor and stuff, his feet might be an inch wider apart. But like Haftor's stance is nearly that wide for his conventional. Obviously, Haftor is lifting the bar a further distance, but we're really not getting into the details on those. I think there's legitimate cause to call this the most impressive deadlift ever.
So he weighed 122 kilos as well, which is an incredibly important part of that. So obviously, the reason we're talking about Haftor here specifically is obviously he has the heaviest deadlift from the floor, so use a deadlift suit and straps. What you find impressive and what you find subjective obviously is entirely up to yourself. Haftor was probably close to 200 kilos when he did that. He might have actually been slightly over it. I can't remember the exact body weight he was at when he did it, but we know Colton was, I think, 122 kilos is what it's been listed as. So 520 kilos didn't look that hard for him. Like, this didn't look crazy difficult for a 520 kilo deadlift. I think the craziest thing about all this is obviously he did it as part of the total, which was I was talking about, but for years when the 500 kilo deadlift was going to happen, it was this massive milestone. And then we saw a couple of people doing it in training. We saw them with their sumo deadlifts. There was the Polish lifter, Christoph, and we had Jamal Browner doing it as well in training. Obviously then we had Haftor break the 500 kilos a little bit, then he went to that 510 kilo deadlift. Now what's happened is Haftor has called out Colton a little bit here, and it's kind of a backhanded compliment. I'll read out the post what he said. So he said, very impressive lift by Colton. This is Haftor talking now. I'd like to see him pull conventional next. If he can hit similar numbers that way, maybe we can get him on the platform at the Enhanced Games. Who else wants to see him go conventional and line up against me? So obviously Haftor is going lifting at the Enhanced Games. He's going there at Mitchell Hooper as well. There is a smattering of weightlifters going to the Enhanced Games. There's an event on in Las Vegas, I think on the 24th of May. Now, a lot of you watching this probably aren't au fait with what's happening with the weightlifting side of things. Weightlifting side of things has been a little bit of a shit show as far as the community is concerned. Nothing's actually happened yet. There's some weightlifters in the training camp. There's been lots of questions going around. There's been lots of stuff happening. So until we actually see an event happening with weightlifting, we just need to see. Clearly there's an effort here by Haftor to get Colton involved in this. Outside of the kind of backhanded compliment, see, it looks funny coming from Haftor here, because obviously this technically isn't his record broken, because the world deadlift record doesn't allow sumo, but then it's allowed a suit on him, for example. We really start splitting hairs with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here, you know, I don't really I like this from when you come at this from weightlifting or come at this from other sports. It's in weightlifting, did you snatch it or clean and jerk it? The biggest disagreement we might have is, did you have a minor amount of elbow flare, which most people don't care about. This is the thing I don't love about this deadlift world records and powerlifting. It's one of the things that kind of would turn you away in some ways as a fan or someone who is aware of powerlifting and the intricacies, but kind of makes you a little bit like, oh, this bullshit again. Like, I think that's kind of a negative part of that sport. And how you fix that, I don't know. Like, what probably should just be happening here is we're saying he deadlifted 520 kilos. Isn't that crazy?
It's insane.
Yeah.
That's what you should be saying. It's hard as well because, so in the same breath as you're saying sumo versus suit, both of them are wearing figure of 8 straps, slightly different barbell in both cases as far as I know. You would then also start looking at body weight, and like conceivably he weighs 60% of what Haftor weighed.
Probably 80 kilos less. Yeah.
Are we saying 80 kilos doesn't matter?
A full person less, basically.
That's a fully grown man less.
Yeah.
Like it's an insane amount of weight in the difference. Now, I'm not for 1 second saying that if Haftor lifts more weight, it's not more impressive, because it is more impressive. But I think whether it is a backhanded compliment or whether it's some good gamesmanship to try and convince him to go to the enhanced games, I think there has to be a pinch of salt given with that, where you're like, if you're over 200 kilos and you lift less weight than someone, although your stance width is slightly different, it means less than being 60% of your total weight and lifting 10 kilos more.
I think, obviously, the gold standard, and I think it's a hard time disagreeing with this, is, in my opinion, the gold standard, the most impressive deadlift would be one that is done conventional without a deadlift suit. Now, you could make an argument, and I would make the argument, I think it's the most impressive or the best deadlift so far, is Benedict McNusson's 461 kilo or 1,015 pound deadlift. So this hasn't been beaten raw. Now there has been, I think Danny Grigsby did 487 and a half sumo raw in competition, but this is the heaviest raw conventional deadlift still, which is very interesting.
It's absurd.
This is 15 years ago when this was done, 2011, and it hasn't been exceeded yet. Now, we know people have gotten very close to it, and there's definitely people with the capacity, but if someone could get close to it or surpass it by now, they probably would have done. So it is very interesting that that's still the biggest conventional deadlift, you know?
Well, I think that brings up the really important thing. You spoke about culture making things acceptable, right? And we've suddenly decided that wearing straps doesn't matter in a deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the reason this hasn't been broken is because of the use of straps.
But I don't think anyone's done a heavier strapped conventional deadlift in competition either, because all the strongmen wear suits, you see.
Yes.
You see, even this again is where we watch these sports, we've a new show.
We're very involved in strength sports.
And you're still like, who has done what? So I don't think anyone has done a heavier in competition deadlift without a suit on and with straps than this.
Do suits make more of a difference than straps? Like, I'm not sure the answer to that question is fully known. If you had the choice between a deadlift suit or figure of 8 straps, I think a lot of people would be going for the straps, because I think the suit probably only gives you the added advantage when you don't have to worry about holding onto the barbell. I think a suit will definitely give you advantage on those crazy heavy weights, but I think a lot of people will fail far before that due to the fact they won't be able to hold onto the bar.
Yeah, it is. Look, whether people are like it or not or find the discussion asinine, it is a discussion that happens. And like, I don't think, like, in my mind, the deadlift suit is less impressive. Like, wearing the deadlift suit or squatting suits or bench shirts, because if someone did something in a squat suit or bench shirts, then most people would agree it's less impressive. But then if you put on a deadlift suit, there seems to be the impression that it's not
as impactful.
But then I suppose if you look at the difference between Haftor's best raw deadlift, and people are inclined to give Haftor a lot of leeway, which is probably fair. You know, they might say, oh, he hasn't pushed it that hard without the suit because his event is in the suit and stuff like that. But there is quite a discrepancy between the 5'10" and his best deadlifts without a suit on, with or without straps. Like, for the straps, for me, I don't really care that much. Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, Colton deadlifted 520 kilos from the floor in a sumo stance. So, in of itself, if we don't compare it to anything else, it's still a crazy impressive lift. And he's 122 kilos after he'd benched 275 kilos and after he squatted 430 kilos to powerlifting standard. But it's also valid to be like, you know what, I don't like sumo. You can say that. Like, I think...
No, you can have that opinion, definitely.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive deadlift overall. Incredibly impressive total.
Yeah.
Strongest powerlifter in the world right now. I still remember sitting in the old office, in the old studio, talking about Colton. One of the first news shows he appeared on years ago. and there being a little bit of a question mark over the limit breaker moniker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fairly safe to say he's broken the limits on this one. It's very safe to say he deserves that name now.
Like, here's another one for you. If Colton went and did conventional, but he failed like 410, wouldn't you be less impressed by this?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Wouldn't you be? Because Colton gives you the impression that he's very strong all round. He gives you an impression because it's true, right?
Yeah.
But if he went and failed a 410 kilo conventional deadlift with or without straps, in my opinion again, you would find this less impressive. That would add to the argument for sumo people that sumo is easier. But I would like to see him. As much as the enhanced games is turning out to be something a bit weird and turning out to be not what it was originally sold as, I still would be interested in this case. If he did go and did do a training block, he doesn't have much time now because we're the 1st of April. He's got 8 weeks. Might be enough for him to do a decent conventional deadlift. So let's see.
I want to give my little 2 cents on the enhanced games and that deadlift event.
Right.
Powerlifting is already the enhanced games.
So is strongman.
So is strongman. You're competing in non-tested. Like, what is happening with the enhanced games? Why is this going on? This is another case we've spoken about a few different times in the last few weeks, saying, why is the enhanced games not the enhanced version of the Olympics? And then this is furthering that point. Why is this going on? Powerlifting is already the enhanced games. Strongman is already the enhanced games. There isn't even a games going on. It's just going to be an event where people lift some weights. Like, what's the story here? Somebody has to know. If you do know, put it in the comments, because I really do. I want to know what kind of scrambling is going on here.
Yeah.